Pitching. Yes, it's true. There is no such thing as too much pitching. Never in the history of baseball has a team been like, oh, we've got too much. So pitching is always important. However, I do think the Twins need to add some more bats to this team and even get in excess again. They've been in great shape the past couple of years, but they've really had to rely on that depth. And let's talk about that. Not saying that they don't need pitching. Well, let's talk about why I do feel like they need to add some bats here. So what I have up here are the defensive lineups basically for the 5 playoff games under Rocco Baldelli. And why are we going to talk about that? I mean, I think as annoying as it is, every conversation about the Twins right now should be going through, well, what's been going on in the playoffs? How do we get over that hump? And of course, we're looking at small samples here, but I do think actually there are some things to point out in terms of depth with these defensive lineups. As you can see here, I mean, the first thing I want to point out is that Marwin Gonzalez, who's supposed to be the 10th man, he's supposed to be the extra guy, has started all 5 of these last 2 years playoff games for the Twins. Starting at left field here, and then at first base, third base. So that's your 10th guy. Jake Cave, who's supposed to be like your 11th guy, basically, started 2 games, and then Alex Kirilloff got a start here as well. I also highlighted Ryan Jeffers. You may say, well, if you're going to highlight Jeffers, why wouldn't you highlight Arise here? Well, Luis Arise in 2019, he actually got about 360-some plate appearances, so he kind of had some time to establish himself. As good as Jeffers was, he only had like 60 plate appearances during the regular season in 2020, short season and all that. So I think that's still enough to sort of paint him in that light of, this was another guy you had to go to who you weren't planning on trusting. And, of course, why are all these guys having to step into these roles during the playoffs? Injuries. Byron Buxton's only been able to start 1 game out of these 5. Josh Donaldson wasn't available last year. Those are 2 guys that the Twins, hope can be basically MVP candidates. And they were not available for this past postseason. And Buxton not available for the 2019 year. So you are going, and we're just hyper focusing in on the end of the year here and the postseason. But the point is, you're going to need to rely on your 10th man, your 11th man, maybe your 12th man, and so on. There really is no way to completely avoid injuries. It is a little frustrating that Byron Buxton's been particularly injury prone. Josh Donaldson, this calf injury is reoccurring now. He's in his mid-30s. No telling how that's going to go. So the best you can do is just build in more depth. And while the Twins have some really nice young hitting prospects, I would like to see sort of that more natural, not forced way of getting them in the mix, like Luis Arise. Jonathan Scope got hurt. Luis Arise came in, showed he was ready. Well, you figure it out from there. They played him in left field a bit. Ryan Jeffers, again, Mitch Garver gets hurt. They have Alex Avila, but Ryan Jeffers comes in. Really, they needed some more offense, and he provided it, so he could continue to get opportunities. So no plans were made for either of those 2 guys. They didn't make room for them. Room opens up. So, and obviously that's going to depend on positional, where the opportunities show up. Maybe some guys are going to get opportunities before others just based on those openings. But when you're a competing team, when you're trying to win the division again, when you're trying to advance in the playoffs finally, I would much rather see things go that way with the young players of, hey, there's going to be opportunities, just knock the door down when you get them. Then let's create some opportunities for these guys. That's going to happen eventually. And that's certainly something the Twins have done in the past. But right now, I do think they need to keep pushing forward. And just to talk about, to zoom out a bit and in concern to Marwin Gonzalez in particular, let's just take a look also at the regular season. This was 2019. Marwin Gonzalez got the 7th most plate appearances among all the Twins hitters. And again, he was supposed to be the 10th man on this team. And then in 2020, this past season, he actually had the 5th most plate appearances of anybody in the team. And again, he was supposed to be the 10th man again here. So you're going to need to rely on more than just 9 guys. It's not just a starting rotation. It's not just the bullpen guys you pencil on opening day. It's not just your starting lineup. you are going to need to build depth. And that is the best and really only way that you can prepare yourself as best you can for these injuries. And, when it's a Donaldson and a Buxton combined, that's really going to sting when it's some of your guys that you really hope are difference makers for you when they're healthy. That's a lot to recover from, but all you can do is do your best. And that's why, guys like Marcus Semien, I think, make a lot of sense. Maybe even adding another left fielder. Obviously, we all have high hopes for Alex Kirilloff. A Jake Cave, Brent Rooker platoon might even make sense on its own. But again, why create those opportunities when you can build some depth, and you're probably going to need those guys anyway. So, we're still hoping Nelson Cruz comes back and just fills in that DH spot. But, we'll see. My only point is that I do really think that the Twins need to make a significant addition, even if it's beyond Cruz, not just bringing back Cruz, if that's what they do, or a DH. They need to continue to add to this lineup to create more depth. And if that means, somebody who's been a starter is sitting on the bench like Jorge Polanco or potentially Luis Arraez. Another thing to keep in mind here, jumping back to these lineups, is that basically like as soon as Game 2 finished in 2020, Polanco and Arraez were getting cut open. They were getting surgeries. Polanco's had back-to-back ankle surgeries. Arraez had a knee surgery. So best case scenario, everybody makes it through and your whole lineup is healthy. Shucks. So that's my take on the lineup. Obviously, again, no such thing as too much pitching. They definitely need to add more pitching. But a lot of people just don't even want to hear anything about the lineup. And I just wanted to throw that out there. That is the perspective that I'm coming from on that. Tell me what you think. Again, thanks for checking this out. This has been Tom, TF Twins here on YouTube, TF Twins here over on Twitter as well. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing for some more Twins talk here on YouTube. We'll talk again soon.